Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
Did the video start?
Yes, yeah. That's what.
go.
It's rolling. We'll call this meeting to order and start with the work session, beginning with HRB goals, accomplishments, and work plan.
Not sure why we're not showing up there.
And that's all right.
Something's gonna happen.
There we go. It was just taking its time.
Gotta warm up.
Okay. I brought up the 2018 goals that you all set last year. And I just wanted to, since this is our first meeting in 2019, take a look at our goals last year, talk about what we can kind of cross off our list, what we accomplished, and then if you all would like to change these or kind of keep the same goals for 2019, because we have some unfinished business on this list, so I'm sure we could probably fill up our 2019 with things from this list. I also, so we can look at that, but first, Ken presented this, or Chair Basinger presented our accomplishments, sorry, that's the wrong document, our accomplishments to the City Commission in earlier this month or in December, I think. So for 2018, just to let you guys pat yourselves on the back, we reviewed 3 applications for new construction, 4 applications for alterations, provided design advice for 5 potential projects. We had no appeal. We granted just over $3,000 for 4 local preservation projects. We awarded a Ruth McBride Powers Preservation Award to McLaughlin Memorial Association and the Rose Farm Management Committee for their work to restore the Holmes House. We began our work sessions to revise HRB policies. We held a historic property owner open house in January 2018. We held a land use law training session with City Attorney Carrie Richter and mailed out over 400 historic property owner packets and brochures to property owners in the city. So, good job. Did you want to add anything to that?
Did I get a raise?
Did I miss anything?
Felt like a performance review.
He wants a raise.
Foolish.
I just figured I'd share that since we shared it with City Commission. And then as far as our 2018 goals go, should I make this a little bit bigger so y'all can read it? Maybe I can. So Preservation Month, that is going to happen again in 2019. So I would, I think in February, we can start talking about, you know, who we might want to give the award to this year. Number 2, that certified local government grant is a 2-year cycle, so we applied for it last year. And it's a guaranteed grant, so every certified local government gets one. And so we wouldn't be applying again until 2020, but we are working on all this stuff still.
Yeah, we can do a review of where we are in terms of money spent.
Number 3, we have not made any progress on, so if you, that's something that maybe we could keep on the list for 2019. There are at least a handful of landmarks that have actually been demolished, and so we need to kind of remove them from the list, or they have a irretrievable loss of integrity due to, you know, changes, alterations made without board approval, more than likely.
So we do have several.
Yes, Christina had been keeping a list. So as far as I know, we don't have any to add to that list for in the last year or two, but she's been keeping track.
I was gonna say,
over the
how long
years.
ago was it?
It's been at least 10 years since
Oh,
we've,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So there are a few
Yeah,
properties.
that should be updated so that we have that information online,
Right, exactly. Number 4, I actually have an update for you today about Willamette Falls Legacy Project. But I think this is these projects are ongoing, so I would recommend keeping this on the list. Number 5, revise the city website to be more user-friendly and include additional information. Not much progress has been made here. I've updated a few items like the grant page, to make sure that's up to date, the preservation grant page. But it could use some more work. So I think that's something that deserves to stay on the list, if you all agree. Number 6, policy discussions. We're working on that, and that's on our agenda today. And then public communications, we have a new staff on the city staff of communications coordinator, and so I think it would be a great task to maybe like this fall, summer and fall, especially because this mentions the first city celebration in July, to kind of work with that person, and her name's Kristen Brown, and maybe tackle this work item in the second half of 2019.
Also, the city is celebrating the 175th anniversary, so I don't know if the city's planning any kind of a
Yes.
thing, but I think that would be a really good venue to have information on historic preservation program.
Yeah. So that's the end of the list. So we had heard some direction, anything else from the board?
We should. Nothing more regarding 2018, other than that it's gone.
It's worth exploring.
So you're looking for additional items for 2019 then?
Yeah, I guess I would suggest I can just write 2018 to 2019 goals on here, and revise some of those dates. Maybe add a bullet about the 175th, and then if you all have anything else to add.
Yes, I've had a couple people ask me about the paint program that the city used to have
Okay.
and what it would take to resuscitate it or,
The color palettes, you know?
well, no, they had a program, Paul, way back when, where they paid a certain amount, and it really, really, it really helped the McLaughlin neighborhood. I'm not sure about, were you here in that time period?
I'm cold on it.
Okay, but it was a pretty big program that they had, and a lot of people made use of it. And, as Oregon City kind of grows in its, popularity and, with everything happening, it would be, because you drive around the neighborhoods, yes, a lot of houses have been painted, but there's a lot that could help, and it was, ask Christina, I
Was it a
think.
paint guideline?
No, it was a grant program. And I guess before I brought it up, I should have gone back and looked. But it was, you had to live in a designated
Right.
structure, they paid up to a certain amount, or but it was back in the, oh God, we moved here. So it would have been in the 80s, early 90s.
Well, it sounds similar to our current grant program, but what I've had a few questions from people, like, can I apply for this grant for paint? And my answer, I checked at previous grants and, you know, talked with Christina as well. And I think the current thinking, which could be changed, is that painting is, we consider normal maintenance. And so we don't offer the grant for painting.
And see, this program was just
Yeah.
for,
Yeah,
you know, paint, and they matched up to a certain amount. I
Sure.
mean, you still had, they didn't pay for you to paint your
Right,
house, but there was a
right.
matching
yeah.
grant type thing.
Well, I mean, we could look at our
Look at it.
we could look at our current grant program and look at what's eligible and maybe revise that list if you think more like painting or other types of work should be eligible for the current grant. I don't know that we have a lot more resources to
Yeah.
grant more money out, but I mean, for example, right now we still have money left in our
And
grant
that was-
cycle, and I haven't received any applications in the past few months.
And I'm not sure who, you know, whether it was, I think it was, I want to say it was through SHPO, but
Okay.
Can I make a comment on this?
We need a card filled out, need to come up.
Yeah, I got it.
No.
Yeah, I'll give it.
just mark how many times you come up tonight on there before you turn it in.
I think that in anything, Paul Edgar Kanema, anything we can do that can build pride back in, and kind of what I call investment. Because as we try to do these things, I think it's all win-win. And I know that there's plenty of houses in Kanema that need work or could do it, but I would also like to just take a moment to say, we are working on with a gentleman called Jerry Herman to create a grant application to clean up all of the right-of-ways in Kanema. And this would be, we have 20 feet of asphalt, and the rest of the 60-foot right-of-way is normally weeds and blackbirds. And when the city came through last year, they sprayed it with this Agent Orange type products, and it killed everything, and then they left the blackberry just sitting there, dead. And so the idea, this is like right on where you come in off of South End Road onto Fifth Avenue, and it was really pretty terrible. And so the idea would be that we go together as a neighborhood and create this grant. It may be through Metro. There's a Metro Nature in the Neighborhood grant that's due at the end of the month. He's busily writing it. I've asked Ron if he would help review it with me and Jerry. And we're trying to do something that could enlist the neighbors of Kanema all, so we could build coalitions of people working together, building pride back into the neighborhood by betterment of the overall beauty of it, and correcting some stuff that's primarily, a lot of it's just city right-of-way. And when it was reviewed with John Lewis, John gave a thumbs up and said it sounded good to him.
So kind of like a localized solve,
What?
like a localized solve program?
Yeah, it's, I don't know exactly, Jerry,
It's the weed growth, it's the
Yeah.
But-
overgrown.
Oh, I saw.
it just comes
Freaking
all
But
over
that
everything.
doesn't, I mean, that does help with the whole neighborhood, the feel, but it doesn't, it's with the historic.
But it's our whole district is, basically a historic
Historic,
district, most of it. And so the idea would be to, kind of where Jerry suggested me, he said if we could do like 1,000 hours of his team and maybe 1,000 plants, native plants into this stuff. And then we get the neighbors and the neighborhood associations, and the money would go to a 501c3. In this case, Kanema's, Friends of Kanema is a 501c3, and then, but we all do it as a team. So the neighborhood association, Friends of Kanema, Jerry's nonprofit, we're all working together, and we're trying to then get maybe 5,000 hours of neighbors involvement, getting in. This becomes a neighborhood project to go through it. And it would be great if we could get a grant from the city too, as part of helping fund this, because this would be a major benefit program to enhancing a National Register district in its entirety and trying to, and pulling people together as a coalition of doing good. Anyway, I'm
I'm
hoping that
sure
we can
that
talk.
this is a good idea, but it's
Outside
kind
our
of
purview.
outside
Well, our
what we do.
Well, it could be a grant, it could be part of one of these grants to help fund the extent of the project, because if we can, it's how do we do these things to, in conjunction with the HRB and a National Register district and everything, how do we do it all together? And no one's got this thing written down in black and white yet, we're still working on
Have
it.
you
And
addressed the city commission?
we will have to, I'm sure, but at this point,
think that's outside of
we're
our-
busily writing as fast as we can.
I agree.
Well, I think it's something that
outside.
we can support, but
Yeah.
it's outside our purview, I think.
I think if there's a specific, like if the city commission is writing a letter of support, I would.
Or
suggest
approaching the
that-
parks.
We will.
I would suggest that the Historic Review Board could potentially write a letter of support as well,
Yeah.
but I think we'd want to see what the city
Parks
commission.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Department
Metro
or
Management.
something like
We
that.
will, but
yeah.
we're gonna, everybody's gonna be able to review it
And there
before.
used to be bumper stickers out there that said, "Take pride in Oregon City." I still have one.
Thank you.
So,
It's on your 68 one or something, right?
I have one that says, "I found it."
It's what?
I found it.
You don't remember that? Come on, you're old enough to remember that.
I found it? Anyway,
I know you're too young. So never
I
mind.
know that one. What I heard is that we can just add 2019 to this, kind of
Yes.
keep the
Yes.
list.
Yes.
And then maybe add a bullet to this last public communications one to talk about how we can coordinate with, or co-schedule things with the 175th celebrations.
Perfect.
And
Great.
even
Well, I'd
doing
like
it
to-
during the National Preservation Month. You know, kind of,
Right, yeah, yeah, so I plan to bring some more information to you, in February, March about Preservation Month. And then, just so you know too, the Certified Local Government Grant, we had these 3 items, number 2, that we applied for, but that we can always change our projects or modify our projects throughout the grant cycle. And I'm thinking about, trying to, if we don't need all of the funding for those 3 items, trying to use some of it to potentially hire an intern for the summer that can help us with that kind of stuff, like creating materials and handouts and, just public educational materials. And especially regarding the new policies, because we'll have the policies updated, I think, by then. So if we want to get the word out about those, then that intern can help us do that. So I might be revising our grant application to try and fund that.
sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Item 3 on the agenda is solar panels, building materials, fences, and whatever else.
It was interesting reading the stuff that you sent.
Yeah. If you don't mind, quickly, I can go over the timeline for the policy update.
Good.
Great. So we've already held a few work sessions. The next item would be just a quick announcement and an update to the CIC at their next meeting. Just kind of, this is happening, here's how to get involved. We're not gonna get into any detail. February 21st, there's Kenema Neighborhood Association that I'm planning to attend. We have another opportunity for a work session on the 26th of February. And then March 7th, McLaughlin Neighborhood Association has a meeting that I'm attending.
I saw that.
And then April 2nd, or there's a public open house, and so in March, I'd be sending out a mailer to everyone that owns a historic property to let them know they can attend that. And then April 23rd, I can present to you all of the input and feedback that we've heard. And then you all can kind of give direction on that based on the feedback from the community. And then by May, we should be able to have a public hearing to adopt any policy changes that we want to adopt. I'm not sure if a city commission resolution is necessary, but if it is, then we do that in June. So then we'd have those policies up and running, so to say, by June.
And that's when the web page would go live?
Well, I have there's a current webpage with all the policies, and I have this list essentially. I have a version of this list, to let people know that they can come to the HRB work sessions, they can come to the neighborhood association meetings if they want to learn more. And then I plan on posting drafts as on that page as we are ready to post them. So that people can access those drafts online and read through them. And then, of course, we'd update the webpage when everything's said and done. So I'll be going to Kenema Neighborhood Association before we meet next. So the information that I put in your work session item is pretty much the information that I would take to Kenema next month. With if there are any changes that you'd like, that we identified tonight, that I can add, before doing that. So, I think it's actually really good because we don't have anything that's really, even close to being in the oven yet, fully baked. So I think that's a good time to go to the community so that we can get feedback early on.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions about the schedule?
No
Can be
questions.
busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And let's see. Ken, what's next?
Well, I'm looking at down now to sample guidelines for solar systems.
All right, we can talk about that. Would you like me to bring those up?
Oh,
Well, I have it here.
jeez.
Have,
I'm glad you know where it's at.
Right?
did you
Oh, I
read
have-
this in your email, board members? So you know what's here.
Yep.
Yeah, so my question for you guys tonight is really, did any of these strike you as appropriate for Oregon City? And if so, when I go out to the neighborhood associations, I can kind of highlight those that you think might be appropriate.
Yeah, based a little bit on the discussion that we had at our last meeting about solar panels on historic houses, I thought that these guidelines were pretty loose, really, compared with what I felt was public sentiment in Oregon City. Even though we voted to allow the panels on that particular house. So I don't know. It's these solar shingles maybe that offer the best future opportunity, but I don't know that they're there now.
And I noticed that in, some of in that, the Preservation Leadership Forum, article, it said that there's currently 34 states that have some kind of regulations governing solar access and solar rights. Is Oregon one of those?
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay. So there's nothing that we really can. And, so has SHPO
I contacted Chippo when we had the application a couple months ago, and they didn't have anything specific to give me. But then I shared, I shared with you the guidance from the Secretary of Interior
Right.
on that, and I ended up sending that to them and saying, hey, this was really helpful to us.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think what I got from SHPO was simply, on primary facades, they've generally been found to not be appropriate. And that if they're, on a rear facade or not visible from the right of way, that, those are the instances in which they would be appropriate. And so that's kind of what we had said at design advice, I think. So they didn't really add much to what the board was discussing in the
Because
first.
just in some of these articles, some communities have kind of, fought back as far as, property values and trying to be, zero impact and stuff.
I think it'll be really interesting to hear what the community has to say.
Well, you have two competing aspects of social responsibility here. Historic preservation and energy.
But I think that the solar energy or the solar panel industry is, I think they're waking up to the fact, just in reading this of, that they have to make, instead of having these, aluminum or, light colored things, having the darker panels. And in one of them, the couple had gone through and had changed their roof too and made it dark so that it wouldn't, and then having the lower profile and stuff. So, but I think it's a very salient topic right now. But, yeah, I think our main focus is just having it on the secondary elevations. But do we want to put any more meat into it, or just take it on a case-by-case basis, which we would anyway,
Right. So right now.
just having some guidelines.
Right now, I think almost everything comes to the board unless it very clearly is on a rear facade and does not.
Or accessory building. 'Cause-
Yeah, and it's not visible, I think that might, we haven't had any of those. I mean, I haven't approved anything at a staff level, you've seen everything that people have been proposing. But I think more and more we might see, as solar is cheaper, we might see people interested in doing this. And so the policy would spell out when staff can approve a solar installation and when they have to come to the board, so that maybe you wouldn't have to see every single request, only the ones that, are maybe a gray area or are on a primary facade or are very visible from the right of way. So, kind of, can we put a box around what would be allowable without board review?
Well, it's good
kind of
to
the question.
have all of that ready for, if we are gonna be getting, those type of applications and
Right.
stuff.
I
Do you
don't
think-
see it as a high volume
Yet.
thing, and I think we're beating ourselves up if we try to make a one-size-fits-all rule.
Right.
Well, that's my question is it lack of rules or lack of any kind of structure that's
We don't have
prohibiting the
anything.
applications?
We don't have anything,
Is there
do we?
anything that would say that
Well,
people aren't? Is there any signs that are saying
You can't do it?
if there were guidelines in place, then we would have more structure to apply for them?
Or they
or-
kind of know what the parameters are.
Yeah, because it is so,
yeah.
because nothing is really in existence that it's not encouraging people to look into it.
But I think as more and more, you hear about solar a lot more than you did, say, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, something that,
Well, like the shingle
gonna-
panels, I mean,
yeah,
that's fairly new.
yeah. I'd never even
Obviously,
heard of
you,
those.
as you can see, the huge solar arrays,
The technology is changing very fast.
Right.
yes.
But I think it's wise that we have some type of a, at least skeleton type policy,
And would that be just, everything comes before the board for the, for the
Unless-
foreseeable future?
unless it's on a,
Second-
secondary, secondary fence, side or on a detached building.
Mhm, or like the ground mounted in the backyard,
Yeah.
for example.
Those just, to me, that's like an invitation for kids in the neighborhood. I'm sorry, it's just,
Well, it's not your house.
well, no, but still, it's like, those are, I don't know.
Could you imagine a Paul's panel on a Ainsworth house?
What's not visible on that one, right?
So,
Well, I can bring kind of this document, or, I can take the bullets out of this document and create something that to take to the neighborhood and take to the open house. Or I guess I'll see you guys again before the open house, so, maybe we can, work on it a little bit more then. But as far as going out to the community and asking for input, I can take the information from this and then kind of what Claire just said, maybe when it might be appropriate to use or to not have to ask permission from the board.
And have it very clear so that,
Right. Yeah, so I can kind of take that out and get comments on it, if that, unless there's anything else.
you're in the web browser, not the
On
document.
secondary
Yeah,
facades or frontages, the board's gonna approve it, so
Where is it?
that
sure
probably
go back
would be
to agenda.
a safe thing to approve
The packet? Are you unpacking?
over the counter.
On presentation. Oh, I have to look back.
You get into the gray areas like
No
the
comment.
one last month where the secondary elevation.
Is on a street, yeah.
Yeah,
So I think
on
there
a corner
needs to be.
lot, and we have lots of houses on corner lots in
Right.
this city.
Yeah, I think that we need, I think it makes sense to define what's allowable on a staff level very narrowly, so that people know when they need to go to the board.
Yep.
Well, and does that indicate that maybe we need to, initial policy is that everything comes to the board until we see what,
Well, that is, I mean, that,
and then we
that's
define
by
it?
default,
as
that is
time.
the current policy.
If there is no policy, it comes to
Yeah.
us.
Okay, right.
Or, I mean, there is a policy that alterations that meet the Secretary of Interior standards can be approved by staff. So when something clearly meets the Secretary of Interior standards, then staff can approve it. I just haven't had any specific
People, right.
requests about solar that have really fit that bill. But, that's the policy right now that governs it, but we can get more specific about solar panels like we do about a lot of other things, like roofs and foundations and windows. And so I think it's helpful to have specific policies because the public better understands what they can and can't do, but then also when people are able to do things without coming to a public hearing, I think that makes them happier and maybe
Right.
more likely to support the preservation program. If they see it as a protection, for our resources rather than this regulation that is making me go to a public hearing, if that makes sense.
One more comment, can I? On this?
Okay.
I would like to, on the goals document that you have here on the next page of it, there's a statement in here that says,
according to the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, additions such as fences should be compatible with the size, scale, material, and character of the properties and the neighborhood and the environment. This was talking about fences, but why not looking at this statement as to the material like a solar panels? It is how it is introduced if it is non-compatible, like in our district as a whole. Then to me, by reading this statement, it would make solar panels subject to that same type of Secretary of Interior standards. And so there's a compatibility issue of it and an introduction of something new that changes. You know, right now we have this deal where we say the front fence should be of 42 inches of height and the side yard fence should be of 42 inches. And so we also have to take a look at the materials in that same side, saying, okay, I look at the front and on a corner side lot, I'm also looking at it from the side and what do I see? And I should not be subjecting new materials or design changes that alters the perception of what they're trying to maintain as a district standard. And so if I take that, this comes along and says, okay, solar panels could also equally fall into that type of phraseology of what is in the Secretary of Interior's statement in that paragraph.
I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So we don't have much longer of our work session. I would,
Yeah,
we've got a couple more things.
I think that if you wanted to take one product that you could probably approve over the counter, it would be the solar shingles.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, because unless you knew what you were looking
And
at.
I say that with caveat because I've never actually seen them in action.
Yeah.
Well, as long, and I'm not sure what kind of color variations they have, as to whether they're all dark or whatever or something, to where they don't jump out at you. I think that's just the, so that it's not,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
traditional ones,
yeah.
Yeah.
they just look all wrong on a historic house.
Yeah.
Can we quickly touch
So-
on materials? Or
Materials.
do we have more on, sorry,
Yes,
the next policy
item,
topic?
The next item on the list that you're talking about,
Well, I don't have an attachment for it, but in the commission report here, let me try and make that bigger too. This part right here, we frequently get questions from property owners about materials. Can I use this in my deck replacement or my porch repair or
But that would be a separate, or move on to the
so
next.
Right at the next one.
yeah. Did you have more on solar?
I had one other thing. In the policy or whatever you're gonna write up, do include this not recommended for any reason.
Okay.
Make sure that that's included. Because if it's not said, they
leaves it
can
open.
read anything they want
It is
into.
open to interpretation.
Yep.
Huh? Wait, they are, but I mean,
No, I'm saying by not stating,
right,
leaving it open.
right,
for
this is just,
interpretation.
I think we do need to include that.
Okay. All right, sorry, I jumped ahead there.
you're-
Sorry.
So right now, the policies, talk about the Secretary of Interior standards, and they only allow wood siding, wood decking, wood windows, including aluminum clad wood. And that is, those policies apply to all designated structures, and all of Kenema, even new construction or non-compatible buildings in Kenema. For example, when Mr. Beislein you know, who has a new construction in Kenema asks, can I use Trex decking on my back deck, for example? The policies say no, that he has to come to the board to ask for that. And we get those questions all the time. So, I have this list here. We can maybe add to it if anyone has any other, you know, materials that we could consider, but, I think it might be worth considering, you know, are there times when we would allow these materials, at a staff level approval? So composite decking, fiberglass clad wood windows, fiberglass windows, Fibrex, which is a composite material made with wood and
Wood and vinyl.
vinyl.
40% wood fiber and 60% vinyl, according to Anderson.
And that's that's Fibrex, is that what?
Fibrex.
Fibrex is the Anderson
Yeah,
window
it's
brand
a
name.
brand, yeah.
Oh,
Fiber cement siding, and, you know, anything else that you all identify.
I thought policy would change so that you could use cement board siding.
So that's, so new construction, we
Yes.
allow that, but if,
Oh, for old construction, you do not.
replacement.
right, for replacement,
Repairs.
so for example, a house in Kenema that, isn't, a contributing structure, these policies still apply.
Okay.
You know, I think the question is, you know, should they always apply? Can we, or do we want to make everybody go to the board to ask for permission to use hardy plank siding, for example? So at the next meeting, I can bring samples of these materials if you guys want to see them. I can just bring everything, or if there are specific ones that you want to see, let me know.
Some of them I think we're pretty familiar with, hardy plank. I don't know that there's anybody who doesn't know that,
Okay.
and I don't know if we need to see samples there. And the same might be true of composite decking, because we all pretty much know what that is, even though there's a wide variety
yeah.
in the way it looks.
So maybe the
Uh,
windows.
But the three window frames you've stated here, I think it'd be really helpful to see.
For us to see, yeah.
And
Okay.
put hands on those three.
Okay, I can do that.
We're moving in a direction where just reality and practicality
Cost.
are making wood less available to the broad general public because of cost.
Cost, yeah.
And it seems like we need to recognize that shift and state what alternatives are acceptable. Otherwise, we're just not going to be able to build.
And what is the, the Secretary of Interior Standards,
Yeah, and I can look into that a little
Okay.
bit.
Just to see, just to get some direction, and if SHPO has any direction on any of that, because, why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, I think a lot of these more modern products aren't addressed, by the Secretary of Interior Standards, and so that's kind of why there's always been this question. But I will check and see if there's any guidance for any of these. For
Or
the
an
next
absolute,
meeting. Right.
no type thing. Because I think we've been lucky, and actually, there's, I've seen some alterations and things going on that people just go merrily about their way, doing it, and again, the education factor of that. Because then somebody down the street's gonna say, he did it, why can't I?
Exactly.
So we need to have some policy on that.
And then I shared the fence policy draft with you all, and that is what I would bring to the neighborhoods, unless you all have any if you have any red flags or anything you wanna add to that before it is shared more widely.
I don't know if this is, because on your, as far as the wood picket on the side, is picket spacing appropriate? Is there any, as far as safety, as far as, is there any kind of an, I don't know if it would be OSHA or.
Yeah,
Because
for
that's not.
porch railings there is, and it's I think
Porch
4
railings.
inches.
Right.
But, for fences, I don't think there's.
There's no, okay. And, on the, what are hedge slats?
We actually have, a code enforcement case right now, regarding those, but, it's just, you know, the metal slats that you can put in your fence?
In, you mean in
Your
like
chain
the
link
chain link
fence?
The chain
fence?
link.
Yeah, so these are slats that you can put in instead of metal or
They're-
plastic, they're like made of
Wood.
like fake, greenery.
Gotcha, okay.
And so it makes the fence look kind of like a hedge. So I don't know, I guess my question, you know, to everyone is, should that just be considered in the same category as chain link or a separate?
Because it's just trying to disguise it, right?
Yeah, or maybe is that something that we want to discuss separately as, you know, maybe that's appropriate in some cases where chain link wouldn't be appropriate, or is it essentially the same? So,
I'll have to look and see. And then the other thing was, the concrete block, as far as a fence, but if it's a low wall,
like a land for landscaping,
yeah,
I think if it's along the edge of
in the front.
of somebody's yard, then we consider it a retaining wall. If it's retaining, you know.
Okay, so there's, to me, that should have some, again, parameters. I mean, you know, address whether it's a retaining as opposed to a fence or wall or whatever.
So maybe define wall.
Up to a certain,
When you say
Level?
retaining wall, it implies a structural element that a fence doesn't have.
right. But should there be a limit on height as far
I
as?
think there is.
There is, okay.
Yeah, it's the 42 inches.
Okay,
yeah.
so the same, yeah, I don't know if, I have to look up hedge slats, see what.
Yeah, I've never seen them.
I don't, I mean, that doesn't even begin to ring a bell. They have them available at Home Depot.
So are there any edits you'd like me to make to this before it goes out?
Not really.
Well, and you have question marks for hollow,
Hollow.
twisted, and
Oh.
the mixed material. I
Right.
think that's a definite.
Well, the question marks are there because I don't know what that refers to at all. And I'm at a loss for how to define it. And so I've added definitions for all of these, but I could not begin to
Oh.
guess what we were getting at there.
Well, they're they're replicating wrought iron using steel tube.
Yeah.
Or maybe aluminum tubing.
And I've never seen, I've never seen that used for a fence, and that's why I was confused. I've seen it used for like a railing on a front porch, but I've never, or like a stair, but I've never seen it used as a fence, so that's what I was kind of wondering about.
Yeah, I've seen them, yeah, on the railings and
Uh-huh.
stuff.
I've
That's-
seen it in metal fences, but you wouldn't know to look at it as a casual observer.
Okay,
You'd have to actually go up and touch it
okay.
to know that
Yeah.
it's hollow
Yeah.
and not solid.
Solid.
And in that respect, I don't know that it that it's objectionable if it looks the same.
Right.
It's
But
made of the
usually when
same
you see
stuff.
it, it's more being used as railings and, you know,
Right.
and that type of thing. So
Well,
that's the hedge,
Yeah.
that's bizarre. I'm sorry. Looks like a fake
I-
Christmas tree.
I think I would like
Say, no.
to say no to that.
Yeah.
To me, it
Well,
I haven't
you
seen
might
it
have,
applied
you might
in-
have one come before you because we have a code enforcement case, so.
great. We'll need samples.
To me, it looks like leftover Christmas tree, fake Christmas tree branches woven. I'm sorry. That's,
Repurposing. That's repurposing.
So maybe I could add the definition for hollow twisted wrought iron to just be, you know, iron fence that's hollow and twisted.
It's
Because
just
it
made
sounds
out
like
of
we do
tubular
maybe,
steel instead of solid bar.
yeah.
Mixed material diagonal boards. I don't see where a diagonal board fence would ever be compatible historically because diagonal hadn't been invented then during the period of significance. I really think that's pretty easy. Mixed brick, wood, and vinyl. Yeah, there are mixed material, brick and wood. I think we're already clear on vinyl,
Right.
whether it's mixed with something else or not. So,
Would it make more sense to change that to just diagonal board fences? And,
yeah, and just, I would say just,
diagonal board,
that
yeah,
was not
that's appropriate.
yeah,
Right.
well, this is in the list of not appropriate, right?
Yeah, okay.
Not acceptable.
Right.
So maybe I'll just redline this and take out the mixed material and the parentheses and just say diagonal, any diagonal board. Wood or otherwise.
And then on the back page, you have the fences and walls not addressed in the current policy.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what we came to when we talked about it before, but
horizontal board seems to be something that's been gaining popularity.
yeah, I've seen a couple of them go up. But the non-basalt stone,
Here we are.
I don't think that we, the Gabion?
Gabion.
Gabion, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if that would be appropriate, or the chicken wire and stuff, but,
So you can choose to add these to the not allowed list or not acceptable list? Or to add them
should
to-
we before we
I thought
get
the
somebody?
Gabion already was.
Yeah, I think last
No,
time.
these are, the policy is silent on these, so all of these types currently would come to you for review.
Okay.
Unless they were, you know,
Put
totally
into-
obscured with, like, some sort of,
Landscape stuff or whatever.
yeah, or basalt,
But should we address
Yeah.
these or not? I mean, what are the, I think the recycled concrete, I've seen that here and there, you know, and I think of all of them, that would probably be one that I think we would have. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth, or do we just cross that bridge when we get to it?
I definitely don't like chicken wire.
Just a question.
I include-
you could see what the community input is and then, you know,
So they would look at, this and, I mean, the way, you know, once you've addressed, some of the things we've said, and then just, get their input on this. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and so the question for,
Might put
This
ideas
page is-
into some people's minds.
sorry?
I said it might put some ideas into people's minds that we probably don't want to have. Anyway,
Yeah. Non-basalt stones, I've seen some red lava rock sneaking in, trying to make us look like Arizona, I guess.
well, if it's available out there, I mean, you know,
Yeah,
that's
They sell it at the,
Home
place,
Depot or
yeah,
the,
well, that-
down
or
here.
Clackamas.
Yeah,
Landscape
Clackamas
probably.
Rocks. So, yeah, I think,
Should we wait for comment, public comment?
yeah, I think that would be good. Just wait for public comment and just see what the feel is for that. What do you think?
yeah, I know that there are things that violate some of these rules already in place.
Well,
The
it's
people who
Nick.
built my house in 1994 put smooth poured concrete walls. Well, they sprayed on a gunite finish, but
God, that was
Well, that might have
pretty
been-
right
common.
there, that's what I have,
That might have been approved for, as new construction. I mean,
probably,
yeah.
probably. I hope. I hope.
So this is basically the things that would be used on designated structures or within the
Or within the National
the-
Register
the
District.
district.
district, but not with new construction.
Right, new construction
It's a
always
total-
comes to you.
Okay,
Right, so
right.
people can
Okay,
request,
so this is just
yeah,
on properties, okay.
right.
Then, yeah, I think they should come. But some of these, like,
Gabion?
Gabion, I,
The reason people do gabion walls is it's
Using what you
inexpensive. It's inexpensive, generally easy to do, doesn't require masonry skills or any such thing. Very stable. If you're trying to hold back a hillside, it's a darn effective way to do it. Ugly.
yeah,
But it works, and that's why people want to do it. It's practical and it works.
is there any place in Oregon City that has any? There is?
Unfortunately so, yes. Brand new ones,
Kenema too, right? Kenema too, right?
right across the street from your place, there's, where they just put them in, and I believe
They're
that there's
required.
code enforcement action
Yeah.
underway regarding that.
My understanding is that those are gonna be covered with basalt veneer.
And that's what I think is appropriate. I mean, I have no objection to something that's ugly as long as it's well hidden.
So it's basically like building a chimney with, you know, concrete block inside and then having a facade of like
Yep.
traditional brick, like what we did for the Ainsworth house. Okay. Yeah, so you don't really know what's
So-
on the inside.
The discussion maybe should be what kind of fascia material is appropriate, regardless whether the wall is made of poured concrete, gabion materials, or what.
I haven't either.
I know that there's a property on Third Avenue where there's a high retaining wall, which is backfilled with plastic foam, huge foam billets. That's on the property where the new house burnt down
Okay,
years ago, 5, 6 years ago. And they recently cleared it in preparation for rebuilding the house, cleared the brush away, and that tall retaining, well, it isn't actually a retaining wall. Well, it is, because up above that's level ground and down below it's vertical. And I'm assuming that that was approved at the time it was done in around 2010 or 28. But it really doesn't look real.
The stones, yeah.
And it's mixed right in with the historic basalt walls that have been there forever. And I find it, if I were ruling on it, I wouldn't favor that. But it's there,
Yeah, I didn't see it until they cleared the brush.
yeah. But it was put there as part of the original construction. I remember it
Right.
from the time, marveling that you could have that huge volume of plastic foam.
I don't know.
I don't know why it didn't burn when the house did, or at least melt down.
Just noticing it's 7:00.
Yes.
We do have dinner, but my suggestion would be to start the 7:00 meeting and then pause it.
I would agree. Makes me happy. We have one item.
Yeah,
Especially considering the applicant isn't here yet, so.
oh, cool.
Since the applicant isn't here yet, maybe we should
Okay,
adjourn for 10, 15 minutes.
Guys, give me heartburn.
And if they walk in the door 2 minutes from now,
we'll be
Just
They
how
can
we're
manage.
delayed, open at 7:15.
yeah, I think that's appropriate. So let's do
So I was just
that.
asking, oh, I'll wait till we're out.
Go ahead,
No.
speak.
No.
No,
This is
okay.
great.
Don't let her.
We will open the public meeting at 7:15.
okay.